This is Al-Fadi, and I'd like to welcome you to a new video series on Bible prophecy in the Middle East. And with me here to walk us through the various parts of the Bible that focus on the Middle East and possibly even highlight some of the current events in there is our dear brother Joel Richardson, who in my estimation is one of the best to basically consult with when it comes to areas like this. And I know he wrote extensively on these topics, and he also taught a lot about those prophecies. And I'm hoping that you will enjoy this series, you'll enjoy his rich knowledge, and even enjoy reading the many books that he has written on these type of topics. Joel, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, brother. This is a new series. Obviously, we've done at least one before that. I'm wondering, when it comes to the title or the topic of prophecy in the Middle East, people seem to at least focus only on certain traditional approaches or understandings of what that might look like. But what I like about you is that you have sometimes some radical, way of interpreting certain traditional passages, and that's what I'm hoping that we will highlight. So tell us, give us an overview, at least today in this episode, about Bible prophecy and the Middle East.
Yeah, and it's good that, first let me just say it's great to be with you again. It's always a blessing. I enjoyed the discussions. But I appreciate that you actually started that way, because let me just say this. Interpreting the Bible, specifically with regard to Bible prophecy, it's incredibly controversial. People in the Bible prophecy world, they can tend to be very opinionated. And you're right, I have set forth some interpretations that are a bit different than what is popular. Now, I want to be clear, I don't even want to say traditional. I want to say that which is popular, particularly here in the West, because unfortunately, Bible teachers, primarily in the United States, have largely dictated the way Christians around the world have interpreted these things. Really, the United States has been the heart of the United States and Europe. Bible teachers in the United States and Europe have largely dictated the way Christians around the world interpret the Bible. And the problem with that is that we often impose a certain American-centric mentality into the Scriptures. And really, this is the first rule of interpreting the Scriptures, is we have to determine the context, right?
Exactly.
If it's real estate, it's location, location, location. If it's Bible interpretation of the Scriptures, it's context, context, context. So one of the things that we're going to discuss is the Israel centricity of the story, as much as it can offend the American sensibilities in particular of some. This book is first and foremost, it always has been, a thoroughly Jerusalem, Israel, and Middle Eastern centric book. That's the geographic context of where everything not only happened, but where it will happen, where the great battles of the last days, where Jesus will return. So we're going to actually begin by discussing the Israel-centric context of the Bible, and that's really important. And then, as you said, we're going to move on to some other key texts, some key prophecies, and try to look at them with fresh eyes. But let me say this. I value the leading and the guidance of the Holy Spirit in my life. However, humility dictates, and I think proper biblical interpretation dictates, that we also value the voice and the leading of the Holy Spirit in His church throughout history. Mm-hmm. And so I never take a different approach lightly. I'm always careful to really survey how Christians interpreted various prophecies down through history. I'm a commentary guy. I start with the earliest Christian commentaries on any particular passage. I work my way through. And then I say, okay, here are all of the different options. Which of these is most faithful in keeping with the text? And so I think that's the best approach to take, and I think we need to hold our opinions lightly. We all have our opinions, but we need to hold them in humility.
Wonderful. So is there anything you want us at least to start with as a leading to the next episode and the others after that.
So I'll give you just an overview of some of the issues we're gonna hit on. We're going to start with sort of an introduction of what I just described, which is how do we rightly understand a biblically contextualized understanding of Bible prophecy? How do we understand this Israel-centric perspective? And we're going to begin by looking at what I just call biblical geography, which is to say that the prophets name names. They name nations, regions, tribes, peoples that will be part of the coming coalition of the Antichrist. They name names. These are not metaphorical, they're not symbolic. They're just names. And so we have to understand these. Now, sometimes it uses these ancient names, and students of the Scriptures just often skip over these names. They go, I don't know, some Old Testament name, I don't know who that is, and they just keep moving. We have to stop, look at the Bible atlases, and say, what are we talking about here?
Exactly.
So we're going to do that initially. That's the introduction, and that's important to lay the groundwork. But then after we've moved on from the literal, the passages that are easy to understand, they're straightforward, they're literal, it's then that we move on to the more difficult apocalyptic and symbolic texts. Because the more symbolism, the more that it becomes difficult to interpret. And so from there we're going to move on to what I think is a foundational Old Testament text, but it is quite symbolic. It's a dream that was given to King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. And that's Daniel chapter 2. And his dream of the metallic statue. So we're going to take a whole episode just to work through Daniel chapter 2 and discuss what that particular prophecy means, because that's a really important one.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for giving us this overview, and I hope people will be eager basically to watch, the episodes that will follow. And I'm always fascinated by biblical prophecies, and most importantly, I'm fascinated about the place of the Arab world and the Middle East, where I came from, into all of this. And, I appreciate the fact and the sentiment that you're trying to bring in here, because, at the end of the day, I hope that people will realize as we approach the closing of this series that the focus is a positive thing, not the negative, aspect, because we always talk about doomsday, and let's talk about the hope also that will come along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you, brother, and thank you, everyone, and hope to see you again in the next episode of this series, Bible Prophecies in the Middle East. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. We can't make these quality videos without the help of partners like you. So please consider becoming a Patreon supporter today at patreon.com/CIRA International. I want to make sure you always get notified when we release a new video, so please click the bell to be notified, and of course, make sure to subscribe to this channel. If this video was helpful to you, please click the thumbs up. Thank you.